Hey, how's it going everybody? My name is Drew Creal, and in this video what we're going to do is take a look at two different standalone pitch shifter pedals. One is from Electro Harmonix, the other one is from DigiTech. It's the famous red Ferrari whammy pedal. You guys all know what it is. We're going to put those two pedals side by side and figure out which one really sounds the best. Okay, they both have similar feature sets. We're just going to put them next to each other and see how they stack up. So if that sounds interesting to you, make sure you stick around because it's going to be a good time. Alright, before we put the pedals on the pedal board and compare the sounds, what I wanted to do is just briefly cover the features that these pedals have. And I'm actually going to start with the Intelligent Harmony Machine by Electro Harmonix. So I want to just show you guys, this is what the pedal looks like. It's gray, it looks like a little robot almost, it's very cool. And it came in a box that's a lot bigger than the pedal, but it's a similar size to other Electro Harmonix boxes. You even get a power supply with this pedal, so if you don't have a pedal power supply, you can use the one that came with the pedal. You can also put a 9-volt battery in here. So not only have they made this thing incredibly small, you can unscrew the back and still fit a 9-volt battery in there. So if you're in sort of a restricted power situation, you can also run it with a battery, which I think is a great feature. So the Intelligent Harmony Machine was really intriguing to me because of its size. So as you can see, it's significantly smaller. It's like maybe 1/4 or 1/6 the size of the DigiTech Whammy. So it's not going to take up very much room on your board. And if you don't have a bunch of music and songs that have crazy whammy action, this would be a great tool for you. The other thing that I really like about the Intelligent Harmony Machine is it has a mix knob. For the type of guitar playing that I play, I do a lot of clean guitar playing with a little bit of pitch shifted effect on there. So I like to put like an octave up and a fifth up, or an octave down, an octave up at the same time, just to kind of fatten up my chords, okay? So I really like that there's a mix knob so you can control the amount of pitch shifted effect versus the dry effect, and I think that's great. You've got a volume control on here, and then you've got a key selector right here. So it's really easy to use, okay? So you just select what key you're playing in. You can choose any of the 12 keys using this little sharp switch on there. So that's what that does. And then if you can also determine whether you're in a minor or a major key with this switch right here. If you're trying to play a guitar solo in a particular key and you want the notes that you're playing harmonized up a third or up a sixth, or up a seventh even, you can do that with this pedal, and I just think that's so cool. If you want to play more chord type stuff and you're not concerned with intelligent harmony and pitch shifting, you can press this poly override button, okay? And then it will play a fifth up, a sixth up, regardless of whatever key you're in. Setting number 11, for example, has up a fifth and up an octave, and I just think that's also a great feature. Another thing about this pedal is you've got your affected output, and then you also have a dry output. So if you want to run your pitch shifted sound into one amp and then your dry signal into another amp, you can do that as well, or into a mixer, whatever you may be doing. Okay, another really cool feature of the Intelligent Harmony Machine is you can use the foot switch as a momentary switch. So the way that the pedal is set up standard is you press the button once and now it's the effect is engaged and you're shredding and it's harmonizing your stuff, and then you turn it off and it's off, right? But you can actually press this momentary button, and then now every time you press down on this pedal, you're going into a pitch shifted mode. So maybe you just need it on for like a split second in one of your songs, you just hold the pedal, the button down, and then you depress and you're back to normal, right? So that's one application of the momentary feature. Now, another thing you can do with this pedal is when it's powered on, you can hold this button down, okay, for about 2 seconds, and now the volume control on the pedal controls what's called the pitch shifter sweep time. So what that means is when you hold the pedal down, it's gonna sweep up to whatever pitch it is that you've selected on here, okay? And then you take your foot off and the effect goes away. So this sort of works like a giant whammy pedal in that regard. So you don't need this giant treadle pedal to do all of your crazy dive bombs and things like that. You can actually just use a normal foot switch. And unfortunately, with the Intelligent Harmony machine, they didn't give you an expression pedal option. I thought that that would be a really cool feature, that if you did want to hook up any type of expression pedal to this, you could. But I guess the guys at Electro Harmonix, when they designed this pedal, they just thought, well, you can just use a regular foot switch. Okay, so I'm gonna mess around with that later on in this video and see what that's all about. Okay, so let's move on to the amazing Ferrari red DigiTech Whammy. This has been the industry standard in guitar pitch shifting for over 3 decades now. So this particular iteration of the pedal came out in 2013. This is the Whammy 5. It's the sort of little brother to the very large Whammy DT, which came out in 2011. And prior to that, you had the Whammy 4. And then as you kind of go back into the 90s, there's a whole slew of different versions of this DigiTech Whammy. The original Whammy came out in 1989, and essentially what it was Digitech putting the pitch shifting technology from another company called IVL Technologies. They're a Canadian company, and they are the guys that developed the most realistic, true-to-life pitch shifting sound. I think that's why the DigiTech Whammy is still sort of the favorite of most guitarists, because it's a familiar sound and the tracking is very good. In the description below, I'm gonna link you guys to a couple artists with some interviews with the guys that started IVL Technologies in the 80s, and I'll let you read for yourself their words and how they describe how the technology works. I'm probably gonna butcher it really bad here, so instead I'm gonna let you read about it. Essentially, when you're playing a whammy pedal, it's taking samples of the notes that you're playing. The IVL technology, the digital algorithm that they created, is able to measure the note that you're playing within 2 wavelengths, okay, or 2 cycles of the signal. So a cycle is when the sine wave hits the top and then the bottom, 2 times. So very short amount of time, the algorithm, the digital technology inside this pedal is going to recognize what note you're playing. And because they can recognize what note you're playing, they can then spit out that information in and pitch shift it to whatever the desired setting is on here. That's how I would explain how the technology works here. Okay, I just want to explain a couple other features about the DigiTech Whammy 5 that might be helpful for you. So in the Whammy 5, you actually have a classic mode that basically turns this into an original whammy. Okay, so the one that came out in '89. So, and there's some sort of character to that pedal that guitar players like. So what they thought they would do is include that digital algorithm in this version of the pedal. Okay, and then if you want to go into the modern version of the pedal, which is the Chords mode right here, the tracking is much improved, and it can even pitch shift entire chords. You can whammy and dive bomb entire chords, and it sounds really great. So the modern guitar players that use this pedal are like the guitar player from Emir or Buster from Humanity's Last Breath, right? He uses this pedal extensively on their recordings. So it's really a modern guitarist's tool, and it's a workhorse, and it's virtually indestructible. A couple other things, there's MIDI, so you can send 16 different channels into here and basically tell this pedal what you want it to do. You can turn it on and off via MIDI, which is really helpful if you're doing a lot of just short bursts of whammy stuff. Another thing that I'll mention is there's a chorus mode on here, so you can do a shallow detune or a deep detune, which is an effect that I really like. So it's sort of like a chorusing effect, but it's not a normal chorus, it's a pitch shifted chorus. So very cool sound. Another thing that's kind of a bummer about the giant red whammy pedal, you have to have a very specific type of power supply to power this pedal. And if you lose your whammy power supply, it's sort of difficult to replace it. So obviously you could probably go on Amazon and order a new one. It requires a very specific amount of power. So it's 9-volt DC, 1300 milliamps. So that's a lot of power. Luckily I have the Voodoo Lab Pedal Power Mondo that is capable of powering one of these, as well as 2 other Line 6 HX stomps. We'll save that for another video because that's complicated. How did I figure out how to power my HX stomps without their original power supplies? Well, that's a whole other thing. That's kind of one of the downsides of this pedal is it takes up a lot of power on your board as well. Whereas this little guy, you can power this with a normal 9-volt power supply, just like, you know, your overdrive pedal or something. It takes the same amount of milliamps in power. So that's great. Okay, so without further ado, what we're gonna do is put these pedals on the board and see how they sound. All right, you guys, so here we are at my pedal board. I've got a bunch of other things on here. I'm using the Helix Stomp, basically be my amplifier. So my signal chain just goes through the volume pedal, tuner, IHM, whammy, vibrato, and then here, and then everything after that is just like modulation and delay effects, reverb, all that good stuff. But we're gonna be paying most of our attention over here to these 2 pedals. But one of the first things I wanted to mention is that the Electro Harmonix IHM, it really is an intelligent harmonizer. So it would be similar to what some of the Boss pitch shifter pedals do, and then maybe even some of the algorithms in the HX Stomp. What you can do is set it to the key that you want to play in, which I'm going to play in the key of C, and then you can harmonize in all of these different intelligent interval relationship. The first one that we're going to check out is harmonizing down a 6th in the key of C. So here's what my guitar tone sounds like. Okay, and I'm just gonna be playing a lot of single note stuff. Okay, here we go. Okay, so it's really super accurate. It's harmonizing in a 6th. Now let's check to see if the whammy can harmonize up a 6th, and actually it can by setting it right here with this little jog wheel. You can, in the heel position, it is set to up a 5th, right, which is super useful. Right, and then if I want to harmonize up a 6th, I go like this. So obviously you can hear that it's harmonizing up a 6th regardless of what key it's in. So this is not an intelligent harmonizer. So I'm also harmonizing up a 6th and not down a 6th. Unfortunately, the whammy pedal does not offer that. So, but let's try some of the other harmonizer settings on the IHM. So let's go to the next one, which is harmonizing down a 4th. Okay, so. Okay, and then we're gonna go down a 3rd. Obviously, there's your mix knob. So it doesn't really handle the bending thing very well. Okay, so let's check thirds out on the whammy pedal. This is gonna actually be up a 3rd. So as far as which pedal would work the best for you, it really just depends on the application. Do you need your notes to harmonize in the key that you're playing? Maybe if you're in a cover band and you're trying to harmonize multiple guitar solos and things like that, and you need a specific interval, well, the IHM is going to be probably your best bet for that. But if you want to do more whammy type stuff and you're trying to sort of do harmonies in between two intervals, like a fourth and a fifth, you've got that heel toe action at your disposal, which I think is fantastic. I think that's great. In terms of the tracking, I'm really impressed with the intelligent mode on here. It really does sound beautiful and it's very musical sounding. So I just think they're both great for different reasons. Okay, so just very quickly, what I'm gonna do now is take you through a tour of all the different harmony modes just in the key of C here. We've already done down a sixth, down a fourth, down a third. Now we're gonna go up a third. That's going to be our next setting here. So now this is up a fourth. Okay, so now we're up a fifth, which let's check what that sounds like with the whammy, the DigiTech Whammy. So that's up a fifth in the heel position. Very cool. Okay, let's continue on. So we did fifths, now we're gonna go with sixths. Okay, now we're up a seventh. It tracks really well and it sounds really beautiful, especially when you put a bunch of delay and stuff after it. Okay, so that's up a seventh. Now we're going into these little combo settings where we've got up a third and up a fifth simultaneously. All right, and let's just check out a couple other modes. So this is up a third and up a seventh. This is up a fifth, up an eighth. So what I want to try next is the momentary feature that's on the IHM, okay? If you just press this button, now it's momentary mode. So now if I want to harmonize just for a second, I can just have that switch go. And obviously you're supposed to use your foot and not your hand, but it'd be a little bit difficult to get this rig going on the floor right now. So we're just gonna keep it up here for the time being. If you're not interested in the intelligent mode and you want this thing to sort of function more like an original red whammy, what you can do is put on this poly override mode, which is basically going to turn off the intelligent mode, and now you're harmonizing. And now it's going to harmonize that interval regardless of what key you're in. Which is helpful if you're playing like something that's particularly jazzy and you're modulating keys a lot. The intelligent mode is essentially going to be useless to you, so you're going to hit that poly override button. So let's check that out. Let's compare that setting on there, which is up a fifth and an octave, and we'll get something kind of close to that on the whammy, and we'll directly compare those two sounds. So I really like the way that the whammy sounds, especially for chords, and I just think it tracks a lot better than the IHM, and it sounds a lot more full. It sounds a lot thicker and more affected almost than the IHM. But the IHM does so many things in such a small package that if you don't require the absolute highest quality sound, then just go for one of these. Hey guys, really quick, I just wanted to explain that if you like the way that the DigiTech Whammy sounds, DigiTech actually came out with an intelligent harmony machine of their own way back in 1991, and it pretty much does everything that the IHM does, but it's in a rack mount unit. So I'm assuming many of you would probably avoid rack mount gear, but if you're interested, you can get this little thing. I'm going to show you what it is because I have one over here, and it's called the IPS33B. Okay, and here I'll turn it on and you can see what it looks like. It's got this little screen, it's got effects, chorus, delay, doesn't have any reverb or anything, but it does the pitch shifting thing at a pretty high level. And if you really like the original whammy sound, the IPS33B has the original whammy sound built into it, and it does, you can even harmonize in 3 voices at once. So you can harmonize entire chords. It's got an arpeggiator on it. It's a really amazing piece of gear, and way ahead of its time in my opinion. Essentially what Digitech was trying to do with the IPS33B was make a more affordable version of what Eventide and other companies were offering in the pitch shifting space during the early 1990s. Notable users of the IPS33B are Alex Lifeson from Rush, I believe he used one, and Joe Satriani used one, as well as David Gilmour during that time. And it's an amazing piece of gear, and I just keep one around because I just find them being very useful in the studio, and they're just super fun. So the last thing I wanted to check out with the Intelligent Harmony machine is that momentary pitch sweep mode, which essentially allows you to use the Intelligent Harmony machine as a whammy pedal. Okay, so to get it into that mode, what you need to do is hold down the momentary switch on your pedal here for 2 seconds, and then it will start blinking. Okay, and this works in intelligent mode or poly override. I'm gonna leave poly override on for now, so it doesn't matter what key I'm in. But now what's gonna happen is I can make it short so that it arrives at that pitch right away, or it whammies very fast, like that. Or I can turn up the volume knob, and that's gonna make it even slower, like this. Okay, and then when you depress, the effect is still there, and then it sort of settles back down to the pitch that it was on before. And that sound is very reminiscent of some of the effects that Vangelis used on the movie Blade Runner on the soundtrack. Especially that one, that's really slow. So let's get some ambient stuff going on here. So I just think that's a really cool feature that Electro Harmonix packed into this little pedal, that hey, it can still whammy as well, and it sounds a little different than the original whammy, and it's a lot offered in such a small package. So let's try some of these other sounds, these other features here. So that's down an octave. Okay, so now let's try this. Let's go to the whammy down an octave, and let's try that on here. We can even go to classic mode. Obviously that does it nice and slow, but you kind of get the point. It's yet another feature that they've managed to pack into this pedal, and honestly I don't think you're missing much by using the foot switch itself as the whammy instead of having an actual treadle pedal on your device. So either way is good. So as you can see with these two pedals, they both have pros and cons. It just depends on what the music requires. Right, that's really all that matters. You know, effects pedals can certainly inspire you to play something that you would have never played before, but ultimately, what does the music require of you to have on your board? Do you need a ton of reverb? Do you need a specific dotted eighth delay? Or do you need a pitch shifter pedal that allows you to harmonize in a given key? It just depends on what you're going for, and I hope that this video was helpful in sort of clarifying what your needs may be by seeing these two pedals side by side. Hey guys, just wanted to say thank you so much for watching my pitch shifter pedals video. I had a great time putting this together for you, and hopefully it gave you an idea of which pedal works better for your situation, your playing situation. If you wouldn't mind liking this video and subscribing to my channel, I would greatly appreciate it. I'm trying to grow my channel. I'm trying to offer these high information guitar technology videos. I really enjoy doing these, so I could really use the support from you just by liking, subscribing, and watching my videos. And with that, I just wanted to say, have a fantastic day wherever you're at, and be blessed. See ya.